cue the gang knife. There it is, so box open in time. Alright, pads and rotors. So we talked about this on the last episode. You was going to do brake upgrade. I know a lot of people talked about different calipers. Was it the TL calipers?
Yeah.
And obviously it changes the rotors. Well, he's doing replacement stop tech rotors. These are a rotor we use on the S2000s. We've had really good success with these. We've done track testing with these as well as street. But they're a nice rotor. They're slotted. Something we like about these is they're powder coated. Not just in the center part here, but on the edge. Especially when you get your wheels looking nice. The worst thing is you see a rotor behind it, and this is all orange rust. And this is all rusty too, and there's nothing you can do about it. So this is a nice clean rotor, and again, we've tested these on a lot of cars. This is another pad I like, by the way, and again, we've been testing a lot of pads over the years. I did a video just recently, you've probably seen it by the time this comes out. It's kind of like an introduction. But we've been around since 1996, so we've tested all kinds of pads, the latest pads, the ones that this guy likes and this guy likes, and you know, they're better until you try them, then you find out they kind of suck. Well, these are really good. They're not only a pretty clean pad, but they have initial bite when it's cold, which means the brakes feel like they work on a cold morning. It's not a brake that you have to trail the brakes all the way to work until you actually work. Is obviously a more aggressive pad. These work right from the get-go, and they'll deal with a lot more heat, so you're not going to get as much brake fade. George has talked about possibly wanting to go to the track with this car, so that is kind of like a focus and something he's trying to keep his options open.
This rotor feels big too.
That does look like a big rotor, doesn't it? What size should it be? 11.1?
11.8.
11.8?
Yeah.
It looked big. It looked bigger than 11.1.
Well, remember, I don't think it ever went on YouTube, my white Integra that we did the intake manifold test on like 5 years ago. I had these on the front of my Integra.
That's right. Pads and rotors. Are you doing lines too?
Yeah,
Did we talk about that?
They're in the trunk. They're the same lines that we run here.
Nice.
I just happened to grab them off eBay because I had a little extra money in the PayPal.
Absolutely. So lines, and obviously look at the calipers, possibly rebuild them while we're in there, see if it needs anything else. But this is going to be a nice upgrade. We're going to talk about this. What we'll do is kind of give you, this has been a pretty good series, and a lot of people are giving us good feedback, so it's almost like the more good feedback we get, the more we want to give you. This might be something you can kind of do in your driveway if you have some tools, you're a little bit mechanical. If we can give you some tips, maybe it'll help you out. Alright, so one of the other things that George just did was to change these H's. If you remember, it had the red H's, which is kind of like the JDM H's. And you just basically replaced these with the factory Honda ones, right?
Yeah,
you ordered Honda.
Bought new OEM badges.
Yeah, did that front and back. This is obviously a factory badge, so that's going to stay. That looks good. The red, I mean, I'm kind of partial to it on a white car, but I'm also into the whole, if it's a JDM car, do the JDM H's. I kind of like that. I don't like to, you know, make something that isn't.
You see the little paint here? It's kind of wore off from just being on the road.
Yeah. I
was going to buy a new one of those. That's a $160 badge.
Is it really?
That's 20 bucks. That's livable, but that's $160.
Yeah, that's where you start looking at that, saying,
well, I can restore it.
Maybe I can restore it, yeah. Because the chrome looks good. If you repolish the chrome,
yeah.
And the fact that the letters are like indent.
Yes, you can
here,
drop paint in it.
Yeah, you can paint that, let it cure, polish that, and same with that. So there's the rear badge. One thing that he's been doing is that buffer that I bought from Adams. Well, George has been basically learning how to use it, and he's been putting it to work. But look at that, he repolished this, basically doing a paint correction, and he's doing it himself. He's doing it little by little, so as he learns, obviously is bringing the car back. It's not that the car is bad, but nobody really does, you know, proper paint correction unless they know what they're doing. This car was just kind of washed, you know, it wasn't really taken to the next level. There's a couple of scratches here and there. He's going to go with the touch up and kind of, I don't know how much detail I'm going to tell you on that, but basically what you do is you fill the scratch with paint and then you gradually wet sand it to kind of level it and then polish it, and most of the time you can get it where it disappears. Alright, so if you guys have never seen these before, this is basically just a spacer. Of course it says LHT on there. We actually made these back in probably 2008. These are made in the USA. They're not farmed out. They don't come from Asia. But this actually came from me having to dyno a car, and then just as I'd finished tuning it, the guy brought a spacer out that looked like this. Didn't say LHT on it, it said somebody else. But he said, I want to put this on and do a back-to-back dyno. Now, this was back in 2007, and I thought I'd seen everything, so I said, that's not going to do anything, don't waste your time, you know, I'm going to be pulling bolts off. He goes, no, it's a direct bolt-on. The company that makes them says they make power. Long story short, I put it on, and I saw an instant, I gotta say, it was 4 to 5 horsepower everywhere, and I was so in disbelief, I said, you know what, let me take it off and do another run. Took it off, the power went down. I immediately had these made. We were selling them. I was including the stainless bolts, which is the different size from, obviously, the factory one. The bolts are obviously longer as the thickness of the spacer. So it's a direct bolt on. And it's a super simple install. There's no water going through here. You unbolt your throttle body. You put this on with a new gasket. So I'll go on camera with all these measuring equipment. It makes it look like we know what we're doing. People like this kind of stuff. So we're going to actually have someone show you how the throttle body goes together. Shout out if you know who the celebrity is.
All right, here we go, man. Let's put this thing together. Let's help out George today.
Let's see, we've employed a helper. That goes either way up.
Yeah.
It's almost like Lego.
Almost like Lego. Here it is. Let's help out George.
That's it. That's ready to install.
Ready to go, George.
So it goes on just as you see it. I haven't pulled these out in for years. I have had a box full of these. George has often opened the box and said, I ain't seen these in forever, and these are supposed to work. So, just so happens George has a Civic Si that these bolts will fit. We're going to do a back-to-back. Now, if this works, I have a crap ton of these for sale. I will sell you them. If it doesn't work, guess what? These are going to sit in the box with the rest of them, along with these box of bolts, and my investment is going to live for another day, hopefully. But if it works, we're going to show you. We're going to say these. We're going to make you a hell of a deal on these, because you're watching, you're following along, you're commenting, you like our stuff. We're going to share the wealth. All right, so if you want to know the official count number, we have 10. I thought I had more than that, so I've sold more over the years than I thought. Now, these are made in the USA. If you don't believe me, this is the company that makes our stuff, Crable. And yes, they are in the United States. That's who makes these, so I'm sure you can find a Chinese replica for about 48 cents. And it'll include the gaskets. I'm not including the gaskets, but this is the part number you're going to need. These are Honda gaskets. I would buy the good stuff. You could probably buy a Chinese gasket that looks just like a gasket, but might not actually work. So you're going to need 2 gaskets. I want to supply you this, and it's going to look just like this here. I want to supply you the bolts, and you will put a gasket each side of that plate. So first we're going to verify it works, and then I'll tell you how much I'm going to sell you them for. Sound like a deal? Alright, so as you can see, it's spacing it forward about 20 millimeters, about 19 millimeters, and a 16th. Your intake should fit. Obviously, if it's a silicone piece like the one on this intake, this has, you know, a little bit of wobble room. You could push it on here a little bit. I know the factory airbox does work, because that was originally how I tested it. But we'll show you the hose on, show you what it looks like. As you see, everything goes back just the way it did. Obviously, these hoses, you manipulate these, you can maybe trim this or just adjust them, because this is only moving forward a little bit. Everything should be able to take up the slack. Just as a side note, there is usually water going through the throttle body, and that's something that these hoses right here, in fact, George bypassed that when he did the cold air intake. Just to let you know, we didn't talk about that. I should have mentioned it, but that's a good modification to do. Try and keep your intake cool. That's a good looking NSX up there. Yeah, that looks very familiar. Thank you to the guy that did this. I think he did this on Forza. Is that right?
Yeah,
put the LHT TLC on the license plate. Thank you very much. George's car on the dyno. So we're going to actually pull up the last graph, see if this little guy actually does anything or not. And the last time we tuned this car, I mean, I tried everything. I added time in, took time in away, played with air fuel, played with cam angle. All right, so final numbers was 214.5 and 157.4. I mean, we tweaked it and tweaked it and tweaked it. We got the last horsepower out of it, so I don't want to put too much faith in that thing, but if it makes more than 2 horsepower, it's good.
I'm gonna change the screen real quick.
Just so it's not absolutely massive with a big ginormous. Can you put like multiple gauges on there so we can kind of keep an eye on it? I don't have the laptop plugged in, by the way. Where's your Flash Pro? Flash Pro is there. I don't have the laptop, so I'm not going to try and do any funny business and hey, let's add a little bit of fuel. Let's take fuel out.
I don't know why it did that, but
what did it do?
Just move this one over. It just shut down the whole thing.
That's just part of it. You can't have absolutely flawless electronics and have all this funny business.
Digital.
The adjustability in here is crazy. All right, you ready? Where's the temperature?
Yep.
All right, I'll stand back. All right, this is it. Let's see if it works. Let out early. I should let out early. It might have added more.
Yeah.
It might have done another 1 horsepower.
I accidentally hit the green button.
I know, that is pretty much solid. I mean, right from there. That is crazy. That SPACER makes 4 horsepower. Let me look at the numbers again. Actually, no, it's 6 horsepower. It's almost 6. It's like 5.5. And 5 torque. That's not bad. That really isn't bad. So how about we let it cool down and see if we can do 220. Then we can lie to everybody and say that it made 7 horsepower. That's pretty unbelievable though. Yeah, exactly. And everybody likes a number, but let's go ahead. We're here, the car's on the dyno. So this is what also is interesting. Before this was 214.5, we're at 219. This is the run today. And the temperature is actually hotter today. It was 67 on the last run, 79 today. And humidity, it doesn't make that much of a difference, but that's 12 degrees. So maybe it would have made a little bit more, but that kind of proves that that little SPACER, that little chunk of aluminum, it seems like it works. So we're going for the big number right now. We're going for the promo video. We're going to try and sell these little SPACER things. So ambient air temperature is 80 degrees. It's not quite as cold, but let's go ahead and give it a run. Yep. I think we got the 220. 221! I'm gonna pull these fans out. I can't hear anything. That is... what is that?
My phone has on the radio.
So there it is. 221, 161. Look at that. Let's back that up against the other run.
That's 162. 161.99. I'm gonna call that 162.
Yeah. On Instagram, that's 162.
Yeah.
That is terrific. Let's put the other graph up. Let's get all this funny business out the way because we can't see what is going on. Let's see. Our best run with George right here was this. That's when we left right here. Oh, focus. So that was our best run before the SPACER. Now that is our best run with the SPACER. You guys watch the video, make your mind up. What do you think? Are we trying to smell? Are we trying to smell snake oil? I'm pretty impressed. I remember it being 4 horsepower. That looks more than 4 horsepower to me. That is pretty much power everywhere. Look at that. Actually, you didn't rev it out all the way, and it still did.
It was doing peak power at 8,000.
Fantastic. Yeah, that is unbelievable. Is that good stuff?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna call Esther and get you an invoice made out for that spacer because now I know it makes power. Now it makes power, I gotta charge for it. Of course, you know, I'm just kidding. Hopefully you're enjoying this series. If you are, click the like, hit the subscribe, keep following. There is more stuff to come. We are like on a high with this car. George is loving it. I'm loving it. We're loving it.
We're loving it.